Welcome to lesson number 2 in the Alliance Match training series. This is Fun Chief. And remember, fortune favors the prepared mind. Lesson 2, Intelligence Preparation of the Battlefield, or IPB for short. First of all, the intent of the intelligence preparation of the battlefield is to gather intelligence on the enemy. And there's a couple of good sources for that. But the idea is if you can have a good understanding of the enemy's past performance and tactics and techniques and procedures they did, you can often anticipate what they're likely to do in future matches. And if you have an insight on what they're likely to do, you can do things to prepare to thwart those things. So a really good source is anytime you played them in the past. It's a really good idea to take notes on your opponents in a match and certainly conduct after-action reviews, at the very least, internally with your own team. But you should also consider having a conversation with the opposing teams whenever possible, especially if they beat you. And you can learn a lot from just about anyone if you are open-minded about it and don't take it personally just getting beat in a match. Some opponents, of course, aren't willing to share and don't want to have a discussion, but that doesn't mean that you should be that way. Try to always be open-minded, willing to have a conversation, learn from everybody. Even if you win, there's things that you can learn. I had a match just recently where I learned the value of Special Forces units as well as the CRV units. And it was kind of a shock to me for the CRV unit, frankly. It's a unit that you don't see very often and has a very limited utility to it, but I was really surprised how valuable the unit proved to be in that match. So you can always learn something. Speak to the opposing teams in prior matches to see if they offer any insight. So you might know that they played, that the team that you're getting ready to play has played against somebody else, and reach out to that somebody else and ask them, hey, how did that match go? What did they do? What kind of units did they use? What sort of research did they do? To what levels? Anything that they can give you any insight on is going to be really helpful. Also, some alliances have recordings of games that they played. And so do a quick search on YouTube and ask around and see if anybody has any of those. That's a really good way to get some intel on the enemy. And another one, you can look up the players that are going to be playing in that match. And you can kind of get an idea on their skills based on their ranks and their statistics and so forth. Now, public matches don't really translate well into an alliance match, but it's let's call it a little bit of an indication of what you might expect in terms of their skill level, and really important to know what season badges they might have. If you have a fairly new player, then it's not likely that they're going to have all of the season badges, and so you're not likely to see some of the older season units being used by that particular player. And so information like that is really valuable and helpful. Sometimes you might not know that somebody's able to use something until you actually see it used against you, or hopefully somebody in one of the other alliances who played against that team kind of reports to you, hey, those guys use this particular unit, so be prepared for that. You want to have a system for writing it all down. Usually in a battalion or a brigade level staff, there is the intelligence officer referred to as the S2, and that guy is the one who does all this IPB, intelligence preparation of the battlefield. So it'd be a really good idea for you to designate somebody in your alliance that does all of this for you and kind of hones his skills and collects up this information. And over time, you get a really good understanding of what to expect across any given alliance and the members in that alliance. But you write all that stuff down, and that really helps you when you're going to do build plans and your strategy in game, because you're able to look and see, do I have to worry about things like elite aircraft or elite submarines? If somebody hasn't got season 3, then you're not likely to see elite submarines. So, and finally, for intelligence preparation of the battlefield, it's a little bit more introspective, looking at what your own team's strengths and weaknesses are, and season badges and so on. I can't tell you how many times I've started out a match and expected everybody to have exactly the same thing I have. I got all the seasons, of course, and I've had players that couldn't do things that I was getting ready to assign them because they didn't have that season badge. So make sure you record that information as well. Have that at your fingertips. So with that, that comes out to be a very simple thing, at least to discuss, but in practice it can be very challenging to record all of this and put it to good use. But I promise you that if you spend time doing intelligence preparation of the battlefield, IPB, it will pay off for you. So that concludes lesson number 2 for the Alliance Match Training Series, where fortune favors the prepared mind, and will be followed by lesson number 3, negotiating terms of the battle. With that, this is Fun Chief signing off, and I'll see you on lesson number 3. Take care.